Hey, welcome back to the Usable Marketing Podcast. I'm Ginger Zumeda, and today it's Framework Friday, so we're going to get super geeky. I actually, marketers are geeks too, and I'm going all the way back to my my Six Sigma days, back when you had to learn all of this crazy Six Sigma stuff. So I've been working on this project for one of our clients, big healthcare company. We love them, but one of the things that we're getting to work on right now, which is so cool, is we're actually working on experience design. Like, how do we make their built environments, in other words, their buildings, how do we make those built environments more brand friendly and ultimately better experiences for the folks that come through the buildings, right? So when you think of, the one that I think of the most is like when you go to an Apple store, right? They have a very specific vibe, right? You know, they're clean, they're white, there's plenty of white spaces, but then they've got the tables in the middle where you can interact, but they're in the big glass on the front, right? It's got a very specific look, and that creates a brand feel, right? Like, that is an expression of their brand at the end of the day. Other things that have them that stand out to me is like when you go to a W Hotel, they've got a specific vibe. When you go to a Four Seasons, they've got a specific vibe. Targets even, Starbucks, you name it. But when you start getting into built environments, maintaining brand and having the built environment continue to express the brand and what you're trying to do with the brand is really important. But why does any of that matter? It matters because a lot of times before you can improve something, you need to understand the current reality. And when you're doing highly complex work, what you really have to understand is you have to understand the processes that are at play, right? When you think about how things become what they are, it's so often, it's the processes. I got so much shadow because I'm under these lights, but I'm trying to make sure you can see my whiteboard. But so often it's the processes are gonna be the thing that determine whether your project is going to work overall or not. I hope my dogs don't go ballistic right now because someone's at the door or a coyote is outside, which we got the biggest freaking paw prints in our backyard the other day. It kind of blew my mind, made me afraid. Anyway, that's not the point. So the framework for today is the SIPOC. The SIPOC. I was talking, we were actually setting up SIPOCs with a colleague earlier today as we undertake this work. Let me first make sure that this is not a permanent marker, which I did not too long ago. Okay, so SIPOC, here it is. I'm going to try, it's SIPOC. Can you see that? Cool. Okay, so what does SIPOC mean? So this is, let me try to get way over here. This is suppliers, inputs, processes. This is kind of where the main action happens. This is outputs, and this is customers, right? So what you sort of see here is that it's kind of like a journey, right? It's the steps, right? In order to do a process has inputs, and suppliers are usually supplying the inputs, and then some stuff happens in the middle, and some stuff pops out as outputs, and then you have customers. And a lot of times people think of the SIPOC in terms of manufacturing, but you can use this framework for almost any process if you're trying to figure out how to improve it, right? Like, what's going on in current reality versus what I want to have. If you're not sure how to figure that out, this framework is gold because it helps you kind of really get a grasp of like what's going on. For example, I'll give you like a super simple example we were using this morning, right? We have a different client that we're doing a campaign for. In fact, I'm going to tell you about that client because you need to go and buy their books. It's called the Mentorus Project. They have these awesome books where they actually do, they kind of fictionalize biographies about these important people. And they're doing one on Judge Sirica. Judge Sirica is the judge that back in the Watergate days made the people turn over the tapes so that they could analyze that. And so there's a new book. It's out on Amazon starting now. I think if you go today, actually, or tomorrow, you can get it for 99 cents because it's in the preview period. But if not, it's $9.99. But get it anyway. It's kind of cool. And since it's autobiographical fiction, it's super fact-based for sure, but it's a little bit more interesting. It's not a dry read. So anyway, what we were trying to figure out for them is we want to resend out some emails to some folks that we had sent an email before, right? So the process, could be something as sending an email. Right, so that sounds basic, but like what really is the process to send an email? Right, so the process is that when you think about one of the inputs, right, the input is the list, right? You're going to need the list to write the email. And then the process of getting the email out is like you have to write the email. Up here, you might even have to decide what is the email about. Then you need to, you need a headline. You need to, when are you going to send it? When are you going to send it? It could even be the time of day that you're going to send it, depending if you have analytics or not. Oh, what did I just say? Depending on if you have analytics. So you might have analytics over here as an input. Let's see, you need the email, you need the headline, you need to decide when you're going to send it, you need the body, obviously, you need, over here, you're going to need your email program, right? So it's MailChimp or something like that. Then here you need to, what I call, QC it, like you're going to have to send it and make sure everything is correct, it's quality checked, right? Even before that, I'm not going to do these in any order because I'm just brainstorming with you. But you're probably going to have editing, proofreading, then down here you're going to have your testing, etc. And so you got a process here, right? That is a massively simplified process, but you get the idea. But what I want you to get is, and then the output, the output is an email, right? But what I want you to get is there's a lot more that goes into here than you probably realize at first, right? So there's the list is really going to be coming from a database, right? You're going to have analytics here that are going to influence maybe things like this, right? When and time. They could even be influencing how you write your headlines, right? You could have in here, you could have from your list, some sort of segmentation that you do. Like you might want to do different emails to different segments, and there might be list hygiene that that's some sort of input. You could even have in here other third-party vendors. So for example, you've got your, let's just pretend you've got your MailChimp here, but if you've got a more complex program, you might have, other software that you're using. You could be using Adobe Suite. You could, a graphic artist could be using Canva. You can have a bunch of different stuff. And so that gets us, you start going further back in the value chain and you start understanding, okay, well, who are all the fingers in the pie? Who owns all the fingers in the pie? And that's really important to figure out. Stakeholder management, let me tell you. So when you're trying to improve a process, you also kind of want to come over here, you can't even see me, but you can see the board, so that's okay. You want to come over here and let's just say that you've got, in this situation, we have the chairman, we have the the marketing lead, right? We have a graphic artist that's over, that kind of designed some of this stuff before the process happened. This is all the stuff that are supplying inputs to how are we going to do. So the graphic artist might be like, no, we have templates, right, that we're doing. You could have like an editorial board. Oh, which an input over here, right, which we forgot is maybe there's an editorial calendar that is driving the process. Chairman, marketing lead, graphic artist, editorial board. Like, who are all the suppliers of the information? Analysts, right? Analysts who are providing the analytics, which the analytics are an input into the process. So you get the idea here. Like, these are your folks at the front end. These are usually the people that are like saying, I want to do this. In this case, where we're talking about a book, we also have things like, the author, because the author actually is going to help us decide what's going on here. So you get the suppliers, then you have inputs. This is the stuff that is determining what's going on in the process. Then what you have is you've got an email, but the email isn't the only thing you have. You actually now have, very often in this process, you've got some modification of what happened over here, because you took stuff, you transformed it in a process, and you got an output. So here you have, like, very often a revised list. Why? Because in a revised list, what's going to happen is some people are going to unsubscribe. Those bastards. Some people are going to unsubscribe. But hey, newsflash, if nobody's unsubscribing from your email list, you're not emailing them often enough. Period. But you're going to have a revised list because some people are going to unsubscribe. But then hopefully some people on the list will have shared the email, and you're going to have some new ones. So you're going to have like a new list. You're going to have the email. Then you could have responses that are happening from the email. That actually kicks off a whole other process. We're not going to get to that right now. And then over here, you again could have some of these people that are over here. But the first thing that you're going to have is your customers in this situation are going to be, buyers, subscribers, because we're trying to actually at this, this could produce buyers. We're trying to get people to buy a book. And it could be some of the leadership team, right? You're also taking then all of the new analytics. You've got new analytics based on what you have, and you're feeding them back to the chairman, the marketing director, et cetera, et cetera. So the SIPOC, one of my favorite really analytical tools. We took the simplest process here just to give you an idea of what it is. A lot of times when we've got these process maps and we're analyzing this, there's a lot of information that goes into these. They're kind of very complex. We use Lucidchart, which we love. I don't get anything for saying that, but maybe someday, who knows? But the idea is, if you've got a complex process, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to break it down. Before you can improve something, most of the time, and especially if it's complex, you really need to understand what's going into the process, because that's how you're going to figure out, like, oh, this is why this thing is wrong. This is why that's happening. I see why we're getting this weird, our analytics are going down because we're having too many unsubscribes, because we realized that we weren't doing list hygiene early enough in the value chain. And so there's a bunch of people on there that shouldn't even be getting this email list, right? And that's because so-and-so did this. So you want to understand your stakeholders, you want to understand your customers, you need to understand everything in between. And that's the SIPOC, the framework for today, Framework Friday. Hey, I love frameworks, and I am building the mother of a framework Bible. So if you have like super awesome frameworks that you use all the time, I would love to know what they are. Share them with me. That would be so cool. All right, that's it for today. I will see you next time. Hey, I said this weekend, I told you yesterday, I've got this cool little story coming up this weekend on Sunday. It's gonna be Story Sunday. And I'm gonna tell you a story about a little fly that's all I'm gonna say, actually. I don't want to, I'll end up telling the story. Okay, see you next time. Happy selling, happy marketing, and happy process mapping.